Good morning. Can you see me and hear me? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay. Today I will continue with the project. See my screen. Okay. Today I will continue with project inceptions. Okay. Before I move on, let me just go through some of the important slides I have mentioned in the last week. Okay. Today our topic are still on the project inceptions. Now, last week I have introduced to you the latest RIBA Plan of Work 2020. So we have go through strategy definitions. Strategy definitions are one of the key document or output for you to establish during this time is the business case, or we call it a rough project budget. So for your synopsis submissions, what you require to prepare is also the rough project budget, or we call it a business case. You don't need to go to the very detail of what the project budget it is. So as we can see here for strategy definitions, prepare a rough order of cost estimate. So the project budget is part of order of cost estimate. Today we'll go to more detail to understand what is order of cost estimate. But bear in mind, in the strategy definition is a rough order, a rough, not a detailed order of cost estimate, which capture a high-level calculation of the project budget to meet the client requirement, including high-level spatial requirement, take into consideration any project risk. So another keyword here is a very high-level calculations. Very high-level calculations means you don't need to work into very detail. Like for example, probably we just talk about you estimate how many units of houses you can complete on a piece of land. That's all. So you don't need to talk about the detail, how big is one house, or how many different type of houses, etc. What you require is a high level, just a total, a rough idea. The estimate cost might only be stated in terms of estimated cost per square meter or by reference to estimated cost of functional type. Now over here, you can either use a cost per square meter, means you base on cost plan, which means 1 square meter, how much is your construction cost, for example. So you can base on something like that. Or alternatively, for some of the standard, more or less quite standardized design, like the houses, terrace houses, we can talk about how much you need to spend on the construction cost to build one unit of terrace houses, say 100,000 per unit, or you spend 80,000 to construct one apartment, even though it's a high-rise building or whatever. So roughly, you know what is the cost of different type of buildings, and other things like the school. Probably we talk about the school which can take 1,000 students, 500 students, or the university 5,000 students, 10,000 students. So one student, how much? So as an experienced quantity surveyor, you should have this figure in mind. Another example is like, for example, hospital. Hospital, we are talking about 100 beds hospital, 50 beds hospital, or 200 beds hospital. Similarly, you can use the same method for hostel, etc. All right. So the idea over here, this is a strategy definitions, is a very rough. What you need to provide is a very rough idea. What is the, you need to establish the business case. Okay. Business case means whether the project can make money or not. So that is a main considerations. Or this business case, also known as initial project budget, is at the very initial stage. And with the addition of professional fee, land acquisition cost. So your land cost, you need to consideration also. And also, you might need to normally for construction project, you need to employ the consultant. So therefore, the consultant costs have to take into the consideration as well. So I think I'll show you this in the last lecture. A business case, definitely, a business case, we have a gross development value. That means that is income, how much you can collect from the development. Let's say we assume that a piece of land, we can complete 200 units of apartment. Each unit is 500,000. So 500,000 multiplied with 200, you got 100 million. Then your development cost, you have a land cost, say 10 million. Then construction cost for 200 units. Let's say each unit you need to spend 300,000 to complete. So it costs you 60,000. Professional fees, assuming that you take it as a 10% of the construction cost. So that is a 6,000. Finance cost per annum is 7%. So you can work out that is a 5.32 million. All in you add up is 81 million. 100 million minus your 81 million. So therefore you have a gross profit of 18 million. Now this is what expected from your synopsis. Not too detailed at the very beginning stage. So that is what expected from you. Now, as we know, a QS, what a QS can do is, for example, a piece of land given to a QS, before the architect actually design the building, and before the architect actually design out how many units they can build on a piece of land, a QS must able to come up with a quick decision and tell the client how much, whether the project is viable or not, can consider to proceed or not. So that's why we call this a strategy stage. During the strategies definitions stages, a QS need to advise the client on this aspect without any drawing. Bear in mind. So that's why for the QS during this stage, if the solid line is the actual cost, so at this stage, the difference, it could be so much plus or minus so much. Why? because actually the QS is make a guesstimating a guess what the land will be able to do. So therefore, differences from the actual cost is acceptable, is common sense. If you expect a QS to give you the price exactly here, that is something impossible, or you are asking a very naive requirement, or asking a QS to do something impossible, or you don't know anything at all. But as we have a more detail, then you can see that the price are getting closer and closer. And finally, once you reach the tender stage, then the actual cost of the building will be quite accurate. So therefore, the variance at this time, plus or minus even up to 20%, is not something very strange. It is a very common sort of things. Can you understand this concept? If yes, please give me a thumbs up. Thank you. So as you can see, I put an example here. During the the initial stage, probably you estimate the project is 100 million. As you got more detail, then it becomes 98.5 million. And once you reach the design development stages, probably you get it more accurate, 98,750,000. And you see that now the figure are getting higher than your concept. So that's why I say the price are fluctuated. It can be up and down along the time. And when you reach the final stage, the price are reduced. Okay, the price will reduce in this stage, reduce to 98,465,000 again. So this is only just hypothesis cases. All right. Now, when we come to the second stage, that is preparation and briefing. So now you have to try to come up with a project budget. The project budget previously is just a rough project budget. So now here you need to agree on the project budget. That means more or less when you reach this stage, once you found that the project is feasible, viable to go ahead, so the client will agree with you what is the cost limit. This is a concept, important concept. Cost limit, that means that is a limit. The client prepared the money to go ahead with this project. So if you go beyond this, higher than the cost estimate, cost limit, unless you get the approval from the client. Otherwise, probably your client don't have money to go ahead with the project. So what for you proceed with the project? So therefore, at this stage, your project budget need to be more accurate. So we have to agree project budget at this stage. And also, you need to get the various planning advice, pre-application planning advice. Planning advice here is related to the regulatory body, that means the government body. So whether your project can be approved to proceed or not. So you have to get to know all the law and the regulations enforced during the time, so that your design designed according to the regulations. Now, during this stage, prepare order of cost estimate. So later we'll come to see what is a cost estimate. Then break down the cost of element or category to highlight any area which may cause significant cost-related project risk. Okay, so you have to prepare the cost detail and probably to consider, those area which you can't be very definite on the actual cost, what what it is. And important thing is the project budget, you need to be agree with the client and or agree by the client, because that will set your cost limit. I hope you remember the term here, cost limit. Now, order of cost estimate, according to the new rules of measurement. New rules measurements, I have uploaded in the reference sections. You can refer to the whole book for the order of cost for the MRM1, new rules of measurement. For today's lectures, I need to refer to MRM many times. So probably you can try to download or open up your MRM1 so that you can compare my content with it later in the lecture. The order of cost estimate including all these items, things like facilitating work, building work, being contractor preliminary, then being contractor overhead and profit, etc. Okay, and one item, please take note, the risk allowances here, there are four different types of risk, like the design development risk, construction risk, employer change risk, employer other risk estimate. And if you remember this diagram, so when you are in the earlier stage, the earliest you are, the risk component will be higher. The risk will be higher. But as you go to more detail, your risk will reduce. You will getting a more and more accurate. So therefore, in the initial stage, the risk allowance, okay, risk percentage, probably you need to allow for higher. Okay, you need to allow higher for the risk. Okay, so this is the list you can find in the new rules of measurement. Now I'm following the same layout and prepare the project budget. Now what you can see over here is the difference between project budget and the order of cost estimate is the project budget we have income. Okay. Then we have a profit. We found the income minus the total cost limit. Remember, just I mentioned the word cost limit. Your income minus your cost limit, that means your total expenditure, then will give you the gross profit. All right. Now, for those of you, you have since a majority of you have done development appraisals, you take note the layout of the order of cost estimate, the sequencing of the order of cost estimate, and your development appraisals are different. There are some differences, the layout, please take note. Okay, my subsequent lecture, I will discuss in detail all the item one by one. What are the items included in the order of cost estimate? So project budget is order of cost estimate is part of project budget. Project budget is not order of cost estimate. Order of cost estimate is your total cost of the project. All right. Now, this slide will give you the ideas on normally when we talk about gross development value. For example, here, the gross development value 96,900. Okay, that is a gross development value 96,900. Then the gross development cost. The gross development cost is compared to here. The gross development cost is 79 million. Okay, about 80 million. Then the profit is 17 million. So, which means here is 76 million. All right. Sorry, 79 million. Here is 79 million. Here is 70 million. So you add together, that is 96 million. So when we break down, we know that, okay, this is a total gross development cost, and this is a surplus will be earned by the developer. Okay, but in order to carry out the work, we have a gross development cost. That gross development costs are further, we can break down into the land cost, construction cost, professional fees, finance fees, and the marketing cost. So land cost is you pay to the landowner. Construction cost, that is amount you need to pay to the contractor. Professional fees, you need to pay to the different professional, such as a QS, architect, engineer. Finance costs, you need to get the finance to finance the project. Then you need to borrow the such as bank. So you need to pay the interest to the bank, pay back to the bank. And you need to spend some money to market the property, what you have developed, so that it can be sales. Then the difference is the developer profit. All these components, okay, all these components, we call it order of cost estimate, which are same as what I have explained in the previous slide. Now let's look at the land cost component. Land cost components, the actual amount you pay to the landowner, that is the site value. But because the transaction of the land, okay, involve, actually when you buy the land, you don't buy the land and take the piece of land and keep it at your house. You can't keep, okay? So therefore, the land transaction or property transaction normally is involved with legal document. It's only the legal document, the contract, and the transfer of land title. So this of transferring of the legal documents, you need the lawyer, variable, the professionals of people to handle. So therefore, it involved with a site acquisition cost. The site acquisition cost, it will be quite costly because you are talking about few percent of the site value. So therefore, it is a very substantial amount over here. Then for the construction cost, the construction cost, a typical BQ, you can see that the BQ, you have a mean builder's work, and then always you include provisional sum and PC sum to the nominated subcontractors. So that is a part of the construction cost. All right. And for the mean builder's work, that is actually what mean contractors are doing. Again, for the mean contractors, they need to spend the money. It doesn't mean that the mean contract sum is 90 million. That means all the 90 millions is the mean contractor profit. No, the mean contractor has to pay for material, pay for labor, pay for machinery. Whatever balance, that is a contractor's profit. All right. And the professional, as I say, including architect, engineer, surveyor. And of course, the surveyor here, you can say there is a land surveyor, quantity surveyor, engineer. There's a mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, civil engineer, 3 types of engineer. Architect, probably you have a building architect, you have a landscape architect, etc. So that is the, how the cost structure of a typical development cost come around. So far, any question or not? If no question, can you give me a thumbs up? If there is a questions, turn on your mic and ask. Okay. Since no question, I'll proceed. Now what I will go through is here. I will go through is all these detail now on all these components. So what are including down there? First of all, facilitating work. Facilitating work, that is, after you get a site, before you start the constructions, probably you need to carry out some of the work, preliminary work on the site before you actually can carry out the constructions, such as if, let's say, you buy over a site, have some building over it, which you might need to carry out some demolition work. So as you can see on the screen, so for these buildings, there is an abandoned factory, probably you have to demolish. So this is called a facilitating work. Or, the site, probably you need to carry out some clearing, or you need to carry out some earth filling before in order to leveling up so that you can carry out the construction work. All right, or there are any form of soil stabilizations or any hazardous or dangerous material, you need to remove them from the site. So all this is known as a facilitating work. Now then, when you come to the building work, normally there is an actual construction of the building. As what I said earlier, one method is based on the floor area method. Floor area method, a very rough costing is how much is your built-up area. So for example, A stands for gross internal floor area. Then P is cost per square meter of the gross internal floor area. So A multiplied with B, you get C. C is a total cost for the building works. Alternatively, you can base on the functional unit method. Like for example, what I showed you the example earlier, if this is an apartment, so it costs 300,000 to construct one apartment. There are 200 units, so 200 multiplied with 300, so it gives you 6 million. So that is called a functional unit. For the hospital, so probably we are talking about number of beds. So if that is a 500 bed hospital, one bed probably it costs you 10,000. So 500 times 10,000, then that is a 500 million, something like that. All right. So that is how you use a functional unit method or floor method. Now, normally for this kind of informations, as QS, you're supposed to build out your own library. So from now onwards, if you want to become a good QS, you should try to record down all the projects you come across, and all the information you come across, and try to categorize them, like for example here, like this, to a different type of buildings, and then how much is the cost per square meter. So the more data you have, the better you are. If you can collect more information, then your estimate will be more accurate. Otherwise, you have to rely on some of the standard costing published by some of the QS firm or some of the institution. For example, the JUPN and Arcadis, they always come up with the construction cost handbook. Okay, so you can go to the JUPN or Arcadis website and look for the this document. Then you can download their standard costing. So, but as I say, because you use this kind of information, you can see that let's say we are talking about our buildings is an apartment, for example, our apartment, the apartment cost, the cost is 1,000 to 1,925. So which means the difference is almost 1,000 to 2,000. It could be 1,006, it could be 1,004, it could be 1,005, it could be 1,001 also, it could be 1,900 also. So which one is correct? So then you have to base on your experience and your guess to take a figure. Of course, this kind of a guessing, the accuracy will be very far away. But if you have compiled your own data, let's say your data, you know, you have 1,005, 1,006, 1,007, 1,004. Then you look at the figure you have is between 1,004 to 1,007. So then probably you will know that it should be between 1,004 and 1,007. So definitely you won't choose 1,001 or 1,009. So in other words, your costing will be more accurate. So that is the reasons why I advise you to keep your own costing as a QS. You have to start to keep it until you retire, from the profession. So from day one, you need to start to prepare this. So we can, if we don't have any information, so probably we try to base on here to take the figure. Others references, for example, CIDP have the pocket cost book. Okay, pocket cost book 2020. Again, so they have some of the important costing, but similarly is in the range. Okay, in a quite wide range of different type of the prices. Again, have to depend on your judgment. Like for example, apartment here, mid-rise, the price are 1,001 to 3,000. So your 3,000 also correct, 2,000 also correct, 1,500 also correct, 1,900 also correct. So which one is the correct one? So if you want to be a good QS, unless you have your own prices, otherwise the range you try to take is around here. Now besides CIDP and Akatis, others QS firm probably they also have kept some standard costing. So you like for example KPK, I believe they also have their own standard cost book. You can refer to it also. All right. Any questions so far? So far, so good. Are you still there? Okay, thank you. So the next thing is updating cost. Now, for example, just now you see the CIDP price actually is 2020. Then the Akatis is 2021. Of course, Akatis are more up to date, but normally your costings, let's say, you know, whatever costing you're using now, you start to correct now, probably you need to refer to it 5 years later. So definitely the 5 years later, the price are different. So when there is a difference, you need to make the adjustment. All right. So like R2 will be your new prices. R1 is what you have. So then you need to have a R1 multiplied with certain percentage plus R1. So then only you can make your cost still up to date. Okay. So now the question is, how do you know what is this P, the percentage? Okay. So one of the way is we try to look for the construction cost index. Okay. Luckily in Malaysia, our Department of Statistics, Department of Statistics, yes, Department of Statistics, there is a special release. Okay, special release whereby you can get all the, you know, the different region and different month, what are the index, the price index. So from the price index available here, then you can make a forecast of what is the percentage you need to adjust for your new project. Okay, you can base on that. Let me just show you. Do you know where to get it or not? Do you know how to get the special release? Anyone can answer me? Charles, is it Charles? Charles, do you know how to get the cost index or not? Charles?
Yes, sir.
Do you know how to get the cost index or not?
Kind of forgot already.
Forgot already. Okay. Now, you can see my Google, isn't it?
Yes,
search
sir.
engine. So you go to the Department of Statistics. Okay. Now, Department of Statistics Malaysia. Okay. Just go to Department of Statistics Malaysia. Then you can go to the statistic on demand. If you go to the statistic on demand, can you see that? Statistic on demand. Then you can see the e-statistic. All right. You click on e-statistic. Don't worry about the login to the account. Okay. Of course, you can sign in. But even without that, it doesn't matter. So you just straight away, you go to the free download. Can you see the free download? After you click on the free download, so over the search engine here, you just type special release 2. Okay, special release 2. What we are using is a special release 2. After that, you just click on search. Then you can see you have a special release for building work, structure work, Sabah Sarawak, and then for building work for Peninsular Malaysia. So now we are using Peninsular Malaysia. So over here you can see that the latest is the September 2021, released in October. So that's why the October statistics are not released yet. If you want to look at October's statistic, probably you have to wait until next month, November, around 11. Then you can see. You can also see, the different statistic for the previous month, such as August, July, etc. And there are many more over here. So the latest is when? Let's see. You can trace. 10 is 10 the latest. So you can look at the, as far as 2010. Okay, from 2010 till now. So that is 2010 till now. That is more than 11 years statistic. All right, you just click on the release. Then you can see the difference table. Then you can download the table and you can get the, like just what I show on the screen for the data you want. All right. So let me continue with the lectures. So that is the first thing, is your mean builder's work. The mean building work, you refer to the standard building cost and then make adjustment for the price difference between, because your base data and your current estimate time, it could be different. So therefore you need to make adjustment. Now next is we look at the mean contractors preliminaries. Normally when a BQ, okay, for a BQ, a bill of quantities, the first bill is preliminaries. Okay, so what are the items in the preliminaries? Now, we have to look at it. There are two parts. One is employer's requirement. The other one is mean contractor's requirement. Okay. Now, what is the difference here? The mean contractor's preliminary, Why the main contractors preliminarily we have to consider employers' requirement, because for the PQ, the standard, the practice of the construction industry is, even though the site office is the client's site office, but the main contractor have to provide the facilities. The main contractor have to construct the site office for the client clerk of work to use. So that's why this is called the employer's requirement. Employer's requirement including not only the site office, but also the furniture. And also you have to install, for example, the telephone, internet, all kind of a system required in the office, in the site office for the client's representative to work on. Also, probably the project may need to have nowadays quite common for digital information. You use a web-based documentation project management system. So probably the contractor need to provide the software, provide the training to the client's staff to know how to handle of all sorts of software they are using to use it to manage the project. And also, once the project completed already, then the client need to complete all the document, keeping all the services, all the record, handing back to the head office. So all the costs incurred will be paid by the main contractor. So that's why you have to bear in mind, main contractors is responsible for the employer's requirements. That is a very common practice in Malaysia. For example, those days when I was in the industry and doing the JKR project, we need to buy the phone, computer for the JKR staff to use. All right. So all these costs you have to include in the costing, because otherwise who pay for it? All right. So before I proceed, I don't know, since I'm talking about the site now, I'm not sure how much you know about the site operation. So I just conduct research here. I mean, I conduct a survey here. So can you quickly answer the few questions of the survey? I want to see how many of you are actually working on the site before, or how much you know about the site. I have provided the link on the chat now, so you can click on the chat and then try to answer the few questions about your exposures on the site. So majority are working with contractors, it seems. We have 123 attendance. Why only 82? So Studio Master, if you're attending the lectures, please take note of the respondents for the quiz as well as a survey, and take that into the considerations for the participation mark. Okay. In fact, I wish I can reach 100. Never mind. So it seems a majority of you are work with contractors, only about 1/3 with quantity surveyor. Quite surprising. I thought majority are with supplier, with QS. Then were you posted at the project site? So majority say I have been project site less than 5 times. Although you work with contractors, but since that you are not at the site, and anyone actually post on the site, there are only 7% actually work from the construction site. And more than 50% of the time at the site. So that's why the site exposure are very less. That is not a very good sign. So anyway, I hope you can understand the lecture, okay, the subsequent lectures. So that's why for those if you are working at the site or you are very frequent to go to the site, then you notice that at the site, there is a client's office or the consultant office and also the contractor's site office. They are two separate buildings. So the client's site office, all the expenditure actually is paid by the main contractor. All right. Then for the main contractors preliminary, for the main contractor requirement, again, you have to provide things like the salary to the I mean all the full-time staff are involved at the site. So project specific management staff and site establishment, that is things like the site accommodations and also like not only on the site office but also like for example the workers quarters, for the construction worker to stay on the site. So all these things you need to include. Temporary services such as water, electricity, telecommunication, internet, and also the septic tank. And security, okay, securities including the hoarding, fencing, safety, environment protections, okay, and also control and protection including surveying, mechanical plant like your crane, tower crane, mobile crane, concrete patching plant, scaffolding, keeping site record, completion and post-completion requirement, cleaning, fee and charges, site services, insurance, etc. So these are what you mean by main contractors requirement. And normally for all these costs, of course, you can price very accurate, but for the initial stage, for the order of estimate, so normally we will allot certain percentage multiply with the building work. So for example, you assume 5%, 10% as a preliminary, all right? Then that will give you the total mean contractor's preliminary amount. And also for the mean contractor, there's a mean contractor's overhead and profit. Mean contractor's profit, I've shown you early on. Okay, if you look at this slide, so that is this portion, that is a mean contractor's profit. All right. Then what does it mean by the overhead? Overhead, that is the, normally that is the expenditure spent in the contractor's main office, head office. Okay, so probably there's a project director or managing director, or they are, QS, all those are people that based on the head office, but they are working on the project by certain time. So probably they visit the site quite frequent, once a week or once a month or twice or every fortnight once, etc. Their traveling costs and the costs incurred. So all these are the costs incurred as the overhead. All right. So similarly, for the main contractor's overhead and profit, you are using the builder's work plus main contractor preliminary, including preliminary, then you multiply with certain percentage. Okay, so that will give you the total main contractor's overhead and profit estimate. So the total work cost estimate is equal to builder's work preliminary overhead, then that will give you the work cost estimate, the total cost estimate. Now, beside that, for the development project, so you need to get a consultant, specific consultant to do the design project, etc. So therefore, it will incur with a professional fee. So the professional fee are based on your work estimate D, the previously D, okay, then multiply with the percentage for the professional fees. So it could be 10%, 5%, up to you. Now another components, important components are over here. There are other development project costs. Okay. Now, so for those of you, if you have done development economics or property development, so probably your construction costs, before your construction costs, you have land acquisitions, etc. And then after you calculate your professional fee, etc., then you have your finance costs, marketing, etc. But for the order of estimate, the land acquisition cost, employer finance, and then also marketing costs, okay, is included in the development and project costs. So please take note of this. Other than these three items, probably you cover in your property development, there are other fees like, you submit your planning permission, and there's a planning fees, charter, planning contribution, and insurance. So this will be the other development project costs. And also in the order of cost estimate, it breaks down the risk into very detailed. All right. The reason is I have explained to you early on. If you go to my earlier slide, I will show you that. Yes, during so you can see because in the earlier stage, okay, so there are very uncertainty, a lot of uncertainty, so therefore the risk will be higher. All right, so that is a reason, why the order of cost estimate break down the risk to design development risk, construction risk, employer change risk, and employer other risk. So what is a design development risk? That is an allowance for use during the design process to provide for the risk associated with the design development changes in estimating data, third-party risk, statutory requirement, procurement methodology, and delays in tendering. So this is a design development risk, like any allowances, like for example, more towards the approval of your project. So probably the law is changed or there's a new requirement in order to get your project to approve, for example. So those are considered as a developer's development risk. Then construction risk, that is during the construction times. So for example, probably, after you start excavation, then only you realize that, the soil conditions are very bad. So you need to replace the soil, or after, you start your excavation, then only you discover there are services underground and you need to divert all those services, etc. So this is considered as a construction risk, which means you can only know the risk once the construction started. That employer change risk, that it could be due to the employer, the client changed a mind, so he want to change the drawing. So you want to make some changes, so that is employer change risk. And employers other risk, which including, like for example, the employer, suddenly found that it need to expedite the project, or it need to postpone the project, or because of the available of fund, or also things like COVID-19, for example, happen now. So probably the developer want to delay the project because the sales are affected. So all this will fall under the employer other risk. And all these are more detailed. You can refer to the new rules of measurements. I've provided all the pages references. So it's very easy for you to check the more detail. All right. Now, all these risks are the different kind of risks. You have to add together the amount of a risk, then which will give you the total risk allowances. That is the design development risk, construction risk, employer change risk, employer other risk, add together, that will give you the risk allowances estimate. All right. So the base cost plus all the risk, then it will give you the cost limit. Now, these cost limit are excluding inflation. If you have listened to my lecture carefully, then you'll notice that just now when I say the price adjustment is only adjust to now when you are preparing the order of estimate. So you are only looking at now and the base index, what are the price difference. But from now till the drawing are ready or the tender are ready to call the tender, then there is still a period of times. Okay, so it could be cost this period of time, the price, it could be increased or decreased. So therefore, it will have a further inflation. So this is called a tender inflation. That means from now, the time you prepare the tender, you prepare the order of estimate until the time you call for the tender. So then this period of time, if there is increase in the prices, so your cost limit need to add the tender inflation, then will give you a new cost limit. And this new cost limit is still excluding construction inflation, which means once your project are awarded, then during the construction times, probably the price are further increased. So therefore, you will have a further increase on the construction cost. So therefore, you need to use your cost limit 1, the revised cost limit plus the construction inflation in order to get the new cost limit, construction inflations. Now, so that is how the whole thing are presented in this format. So this is called the order of cost estimate, as what I have framed in the red boundary. And the whole thing, including the income, is known as a project budget. So in this case, after I add in all this information, the totals, the estimate, the profit is 70 million, which means we can make 22.22%. And normally, when you prepare the order of cost estimate report, so these are the informations you need to include in the order of cost estimate report. Now with this, I will end the first sections. You can try the quiz during the break. So I will resume the class in 10. I will resume the class. Let me see. I'll resume the class 10 minutes later. So meanwhile, you can try the quiz. I think it may take you 5 minutes only. Okay. I will resume the class at 10:15. Your participations on the quiz will be taken in consideration of your participation mark. Please take note.
Sir, may I ask you something?
Yes.
Just now when I open your Google form, when I'm using my Utah email to log in, they said my Utah email kena block already.
Then I don't know.
Oh, I thought, sir, you know.
I can't do anything. That is something on the IT department. You have to check with your ICT why your email are blocked.
Oh, okay. Thanks, sir.
Okay.
Sir.
Yes.
We cannot log in the Q&A because our Utah mail has been blocked.
Why?
Not sure.
I also don't know. I'm not IT.
Some of our friends also like that. So how about the Q&A marks? Can we fill in later after class or after the system has? Okay.
You do it later. Lah.
Okay, sure.
So, okay, let me continue with the next part, the part 2 of today's lecture. Now, for part 2, we will come to the concept design. So in the concept design, you have to give a more context on the detail of the design and ensure that the concept adopted in your design requirement. Okay, so during this time, you have to look at the building regulations so that your project can be approved. Now, then for the Malaysia's government system, we have 3 tiers of government. The first tier, sorry, I haven't shared my slide. So for Malaysia, we have 3 tiers of government system. The first tier, of course, is the parliament. That is a national level. Then we have a state government. Okay, like for example, this is a Shah Alam state government. Then for those federal territory, like for example, Dewan Bandaraya. So there's no state. That is a federal territory. That is a federal territory. And then for the local government, we have, like for example, Subang Jaya. We have a Majlis Bandaraya Subang Jaya. And then, for example, Kajang, we have Majlis Perbandaran Kajang. Then probably some others place smaller areas. You have a Majlis Daerah. So whether Majlis Daerah, Majlis Bandaran Subang Jaya, or the Dewan Bandaraya Kuala Lumpur. So these are considered as a local government. We have a 3 level of government. Certain authorities, the power of a different government, different level of government are different. So when come to the development planning system in Malaysia, for national level, we have a National Physical Planning Council that will prepare the national physical plan. And then state level, we have a state planning committee, which will prepare state structure plan. Local level, they will prepare local planning authority, and which will prepare local plan. Now, this plan will determine the piece of land. You know, the first item of the land is whether the land use is for residential, commercial, or agriculture. Now, those criteria are set under here, especially the local plan. Will define, for example, the site, whether that is for the misdevelopment or whatever reason. So that will be shown in the local plan. All right. And these are three different levels of a planning system. For example, national level, we have the National Physical Planning Council is chaired by the Prime Minister. Okay, this is by the PM. And State Planning Committee, that is chaired by the Menteri Besar or Chief Minister of a different state. For the local planning authority, that is chaired by the chairman of the Majlis. So, or the Datuk Bandar, mayor. Take for example, like for example, Subang Jaya, last year have been elevated as a Bandar Raya. So therefore, there is a mayor. For those smaller region, like for example, let's say Kajang, Majlis Perbandaran, Kajang. So it's not led by the mayor, but it's led by the chairman of the Majlis Perbandaran Kajang. And for Malaysia's government systems, as you know, the national and state level is through the election, general elections. We elect the state government, we elect the national government. Like for example, Malacca, in 2 or 3 weeks' time, they are going to have their election for their state government. Then for the local level, local authority, local government is not by elections. So normally it's appointed by the state government. The people, the council member are appointed by the state government. So please take note about this. Now, over here you can see that this is a national physical plan that is prepared by the National Physical Planning Council. We have a state plan. State plan are prepared by the state government, and this is a local plan of this one is Subang. Yes, Subang Jaya. So the Subang Jaya's local plan. Now, a point I want to highlight over here is what I show here is a national physical plan. So our national physical plan at the moment, what we have is still national physical plan 2. By right, we should have a national physical plan 3, but it was not ready yet until before I start the lecture. I still check on it. It seems still not ready, not uploaded. That could be due to recently Malaysia, because we spend too much time on changing the government. So therefore, this aspect of work is not being taken care or doing regularly or updating. So watch up. You just watch up for the National Physical Plan 3, whether it will be start launching in the next couple of months or not. So what I want to highlight here is we have a national level plan, and then we have a state level plan, and for the different local authority, there's a different local authorities plan. In terms of housing developments, for the 3 levels of government, the most influencing one is still the local government, and the local government are not by elections. Okay, now you have seen this chart in the last lecture. So we'll focus more on the planning permission for today's subsequent lecture. We'll look at the local plan. Just as I show you the local plan. This is the example of a local plan. Okay, this is a typical example of the local plan. This is for Subang Jaya. So all the submissions you submit, you must comply with the local plan. Like for example, you comply with the plot ratio, you comply with the land use, zoning, etc. Now, the the legal, the power, the sources of the power, okay, for the local government to exercise the power to approve or disapprove any submission for the development. That is the power is granted under Town and Country Planning Act 172. So please take note. Act 172, that is the sources of a power. Why the local authority, where they get the power to approve the drawing. That is based on this law, Act 172. So Act 172, clause 18 say that no person shall use a permit to be used any land or building otherwise than in conformity with the local plan. So that means, like for example, this is a local plan. So whatever development you need to comply for those areas in Subang Jaya, you need to comply with Rancangan Tempatan Subang Jaya with the local plan. No person other than the local authority shall commence, undertake, carry out any development unless planning permission in respect of the development has been granted to him under Section 22 or Extended 24(3). So you need to apply for planning permission before you start to carry out any development. Now this is the procedures, the sequence, So now what we have a so-called a one-stop agency, one-stop center. So one-stop center, which means once an application, let's say you want to propose any development, you submit all your document to one-stop center secretariat. So the one-stop center secretariat will check through all your document, whether it's full, you have a full submission of the document, you have a complete submission of document or not. If complete, then proceed to the next stage. If no, then you have to prepare the additional document and submit again. Now, previously, without the one-stop center secretariat, so that is a difference, the different places, different authority, the application need to be submitted. But now with a one-stop center secretariat, so you need to submit to one center only, and that center will pass your information, to the different departments for approval. Okay. Now next stage is you can see here, once it complete, it moves to the next stage. So the next stage, we have a land office, local authority, planning department, local authority again, but building department, local authority again, but engineering department. Then the technical department, those are not inside the local authority. That means they are not in the local government. They are out, like technical department, including like BOMPA. BOMPA is not part of a local government, so probably that is under the national, or the JKR or JBA. So those are the technical department. They fall under Minister of Work, so they are not under the local government. So over here you have a federal government authority. You have this is a local government, and then land office is under the state government. So therefore, you can see that your application for any development involve the department from the different level of government. So let's look at the land office. Land office, your applications will involve with a land office under the law of National Land Code. So the source of the law is National Land Code, and the land office is under state government, not local government. So for example, let's say for your assignment, your assignment, you are going to construct, let's say, different the apartment or condominium. Then after that, you need to give the strata title to the buyer. Now the strata title, you need to apply and get it approved by the land office. Okay. Or if let's say your land originally is agricultural land, but now you want to do the residential development, so this involved with conversion land uses. So conversion of land use, you need to apply through land office, that is the state government, to get the approval. Then only you can proceed with the development. Now, for the local authority, you know that local authority will be involved with local authority, planning department, building department, and also technical department. Okay, so this is involved with planning department. Planning department, in the planning department normally is for you to apply or to submit your development plan. Development plan is not the detailed building plan. All right. So the planning permissions, the local authority have the right to say to give us certain directions or give you certain directions regarding the development. For example, the level of the site of the building, the line of a frontage with a neighboring building, the elevation of a building, the glass design and appearance of building, the setting back of the building, and the access to the land on which the building is erected, and any other method. So whatever your design it is, the local authority have the right to interfere on the design of this aspect. So that is granted under the Act 172. Local authority have the power to ask you to limit your level of a building, to limit your elevation of the building, to change, you know, the design of your building, etc. So they are quite powerful in this respect. Now, just how I say, the first department you submit is to the planning department under the local authority. So for the planning department, you need to apply for the development order or development proposal report. So in order you get the approval of the development order, we call it development order DO to start. So normally you have to submit your development proposal report, which will involve with your development concept, location map, and site map. Location map and site map, take note now, site map and location map is two different things. Then probably some information regarding your neighboring land, you know, their users, or what is the existing building or the mean facility available in your neighboring, in the land's neighbors lot. And also you need to submit the layout plan of your development, which may include, you have to include of the following items, which I'm not going to read one by one. So you may go through that later. Now, this is the Utah's development order for our Block B, our KBP application. So you can see that this drawing actually covers everything required in order to apply for the development order. Later, I'll show you here, there is a detail of the users. Then there is a location plan, okay, location plan. And also there's a site plan. And there is some layout of the building, elevations, plan, and also more detail showing the neighboring land. You know what is the functions of the neighboring land, and also you know the road. What is a mean road, etc. So you can see. So for example, the load, and this is a Getai. So this is Utah Block A, KA, and this is open space. All right. Here is your proposed site, the new site you need to construct, and some layout of the building. But bear in mind, you don't need to have a complete design during this stage when you apply for the development order. But you know, like how many level, how many story you need to build, and what is the area of each block. So you need to provide the detail. Let me show you in the next slide. Okay. For example, here we have a basement, sub-basement, and then ground floor, and level 1 to 10. And each of this level, what is functions. So like for example, level 8 is for the staff. Okay, level 1, 2, 3 is for the lecture theater and the tutorial class. And each level, what is the floor area, the gross floor area, and total 29,480 meter per square. So that is square meter, 29 square meter. And okay, so this is the calculation of the block ratio. So we have a total 29,418 divided by the site. The site is 7,660 meter. So 29 divided by 7.6, the block ratio is 3.84. So therefore the block ratio is 1 to 3.84. So that means the land area are 7,600, but our total gross built area are 3.84 times of the net site area. Now, the next one I'll show you as a print ratios. The print ratios is your footprint divided by the total site area. So total site 7,600. Our print area is 3,695. So therefore, our print ratio is 48%. Now, bear in mind, the print ratios is not the ground floor divided by the floor area. Okay, not exactly. Why? Now, by generally, let's say if the building is a square building, is a very regular building, then we can say that the block ratio is a ground floor area divided by the total floor area. Like for example, here 12,000 divided by 20,000 of the land area, so we'll give you 60%. But in order to calculate print area, it's not only the ground area only. So for example, here, it's not only the ground area only. So for example, your balcony you need to include as well. Ground floor you don't have a balcony, correct or not? But for the upper level you have a balcony, so therefore the balcony area it needs to be included. Okay, and if you have any projections of the roof, it needs to be included as well. Okay, so to be more exact, I think the best example we look at this building. Okay, this is the building of Expo Shanghai, the China's pavilion. So the building, you can see that the top part of the building, the higher the building, other than the roof level, are the biggest, and the ground floor are the smallest. Okay, so it's inverted. Normally the normal design are base bigger, top are smaller. So these buildings are different. So how to calculate the print ratio? So the print ratio actually is you have to take the extreme edges of the building. Okay, you draw the line drop down perpendicular to the ground floor. So this is a ground floor land. So the print ratio is equal to this land, this area divided by the total land area available, not just the ground floor area. So that is the print ratios. How to determine print ratio? Can you understand this part or not before I proceed? Any questions?
No, sir.
Thank you, Charles. So that is the print areas. Then, of course, during the submissions, for example, here, over here, so you need to, just now I covered this part. So now I'm going to cover this part. This part is like, for example, your provision for the car park. You know how many number of car park, bicycle, motorcycle, not bicycle, motorcycle, parking area, etc. So you need to do the calculation as well. Okay, so for example, the requirement here is 3 workers, you need to have a 1 parking lot. 40 students, 1 parking lot. So you can imagine, you know, the reasons why the parking lot are so limited. Okay, first of all, every 40 students, 1 parking lot. So I believe now probably every 4 students you have a 1 car. Who knows? Probably every student has a 1 car. So that is the reasons why the parking are so shortage. But that is a requirement under the law. 40 students provide 1 parking lot. 3 employees, 1 parking lot. Okay, 3 staff, 1 parking lot. But actually, you look at you know, even the estimating of the number of staff. Estimating of a number of staff are also very underestimate. Number of staff, just on the Department of Surveying, we have more than 30 staff. Just Department of Surveying, not to mention other engineering courses, etc. I think just FES alone, we have about 200 staff. So this is only underestimate by 50%. All right. Then the student for our block B, we have something like 10,000 staff. But actually, our planning is only 3,000 staff. So then you know why our lifts are always congested. Then our parking are always not enough. All right. But anyway, that is our submissions for approval of the building during the time. This is a motorcycle. Okay. Motorcycle, there are plenty of motorcycle actually. A lot of motorcycle lot are not used up, but the lot motorcycle parking area are being used to park the car in our KB block. You can see that. So this is a key plan of the site. So this is a location plan. Can you see that? This is a location plan. This is the site plan. So please take note. What do you mean by site plan? What do you mean by location plan? It's 2 different plans. All right. So that is a site plan. This is a location plan. Now then, after you get the development order, once the development order are approved, then you can start to proceed to prepare the more detailed drawing to submit to the local authority building department. Okay, so then for the building department, you can have your detailed building plan. So for detailed building plan, it will need to comply with a Street and Drainage and Building Act 1974, that is Act 1333, or another one is Uniform Building Bylaw. So then, for example, the drawing now, this is the ground floor. Then you have your first floor. Then probably every floor, okay, second floor, third floor. Then let's say probably you have some of the, let's say from fifth floor to the highest floor is the same layout. Then you can have one what we call the typical floor plan. You don't need to have every floor plan. For our case, our every floor are different, so therefore we have to prepare every different, every floor with different plan, submit for the building approval. And for your building approval, of course, you need to have your elevation. Elevation, you need to have a north, south, east, west elevations. But over here, I only show you east elevation and the north elevation. I didn't show all the other elevations, and including the sections. The section, one is a x-axis, the other one is a y-axis. You need to provide the section drawing as well to get the building plan approval. All right. And other than that, your building plan submission should also include other infrastructure, like for example, your road and drainage. Okay, so for example here, let's say our Utah example. Now you can see that the back cover, the sump, okay, all the perimeters drain, okay, very clearly, and also the road. This is a road work. This is the drainage. Can you see that? This is a drain. This is a road work. So if there's any road work and any drain, so that is for you to submit to the engineering department under local authority for approval. Then for technical departments, which including like for example JKR, so which will involve the approval of the main road, main access road. Like for example here, okay. So because this is our building, so where is our access road? You know, how are we going to treat the main access road? Okay, so this will need to get the approval from the JKR. And also the water, if you need to, this is internally the sump, but finally you need to join with the, with the main sewerage. So for example, or the main water pipe. So like for example here, how you connect to the main, and like the manhole, sewerage manhole, how you convert to the main sewer line. So this is a main sewer line. So this kind of details, you need to get the approval from the technical department. Okay, there are different technical departments involved in the development. So far, we have stopped until here. We have discussed until here. Once all those get approved already, that means the one-stop center secretariat, they will conduct the meeting. And after they conduct the meeting, they will grant the permissions. Okay, the planning permission. Okay, then they will grant the approval of the planning permission. Then only the contractor can start to prepare more detailed things like structure plan, internal sanitary, and all others building plan for approval. And once these are done already, then the detailed BQ can be prepared and can call for the tender. After tender, you start the construction. After the construction complete, then you start to apply for the CCC, Certificate of Completions. All right. Now, once the building planning permission are approved, another thing is you can apply for the pre-com plan. What is a pre-com plan? So that will be, this is a typical example of a pre-com plan. So for those of you, I mean, actually all of you have done land surveying. Land surveying, you have used a theodolite. Do you use a theodolite? So if you use a theodolite, you know what you are actually you are surveying. So you get the bearing. This is a distance. The bearing, distance. Then for each individual unit, you have a bearing and distance, same thing. So this will make it very clear that, let's say I'm the owner of this property. So where is my land? Because it is defined by all these dimensions. So therefore, my land title will make it very clear that where exactly on the earth my land is located. So this is called a pre-com plan. All right. That is what it means by pre-com plan. So you can apply for the pre-com plan because normally for the, let's say this is your original site. This is your original site. If you are constructing so many buildings, so then you have to issue the title to one by different buyers. So you need to have a pre-com plan. And in order to carry out the developments, of course, the developer, you need to apply for the developer license. That is fall under the Act 118. Okay, Act 118. That is Housing Development Control and Licensing Act. You need to apply for the license. That is under the Act 118. And just how I mentioned, let's say if your land, you need to apply for the strata title for the individual's buyer. So for example, let's say our site. Okay, this is our site. Strata title will be something like that. You divide the land, depend on how many units. Let's say how many units I have here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's say the piece of land I construct 49 units. So therefore, each unit of the buyers or the owner, they will have a one share of the land, something like that. So probability is for the first owner. Then for the another owner, he owned this one. And then another owner, probably he owned this one. So that is your land, the whole land are divided to very small portion. And each owner, they will have such a share of the land. So that is called the strata title for the multiple story buildings as under the Act 318. Now, if you remember last week, I have shown you the difference. There are many laws involved in the development and constructions. So these are the summary of all those law we have covered. Majority of the law we have covered. For example, Act 56, that is a National Land Code which is under the jurisdictions of the state government. Act 172 is the planning. Okay. Act 133 is the building, street, and drainage. Then we have just I mentioned about the strata title, are not listed here, and others act. So it's covered under this act. This again is the summary of the process of the full development. So probably you can go through that, and I have explained all the concept early on already. So you might take time to go through the detail of this. So for this stage is what we mean by cost concept design. For the concept design, what we require is to prepare the cost plan, the detailed cost plan, outline specification, etc. Now, this is the example of the cost plan, okay, in the new rules of measurement, the format of a typical cost plan. So you have the mean element, then the cost per square meter, and then this is the total cost. So these are each of the total cost, each of the element amount is known as a target cost. Cost limit is the total development cost. We call this a cost limit. Cost target is the each breakdown of the cost for different element. We call that as a target cost. Now, in order to prepare the cost plan, normally we will use the completed project, okay? Then you carry out the elemental cost analysis. You prepare the elemental cost analysis, then you apply it to the new, for your new proposal development. Of course, you can have other information, like for example, your new design and update of the cost in order to prepare the cost plan for your new project. This is the example from the textbook of a typical cost analysis. You may go through that, okay? What you need to include in the typical cost analysis, elemental cost analysis. Normally, we make use of elemental cost analysis in order to prepare for the cost plan. Now, this is what I have worked out with the Excel file. For the, so for example, this part is the ECA. Okay, this part, it will become my cost plan. So the cost plan are based on the new floor area. And this existing cost plan are based on the drawing, the floor area of the existing drawing. The new area, this is my proposal new area. So all these documents I have uploaded in the files. I'll show you in a short while. Now, once you initially your rough cost of estimate probably is here. So now if you're using the cost plan to prepare, probably your new costing will be here. So then your accuracy are more accurate now, are getting closer to the target with a cost plan to prepare. Now the next few slides is the LOD 200 drawing, okay? So which expect you we expect you prepare until this detail for your assignment purpose. Then this is the brief specification of your design. Let me check. All right. Yeah, I suppose to have another quiz. Never mind, it's not here. Now, just take 1 or 2 extra minutes. Let me show you what I prepared in your lecture. So you will have your files. Okay, if you go to the file to today's lectures, then you can see that there is ECA, start with ECA. So that is an example of the existing buildings. Okay, so you use the existing buildings, your previous project, to prepare into this format. Now, actually, my original of a file is prepared with Excel, but I'm not going to give you the Excel file because I want you to learn how to make the formula by yourself. If I give you the Excel file, then you will never learn the how to use a formula in the Excel. So you are expect to provide all the formula for the calculation in the Excel format. So that is your cost plan, your elemental cost analysis. Step 1 is elemental cost analysis, which for your proposed building, you can see that over here is your proposed buildings, over here is empty. Then the next one, you will have your cost plan 1. So the cost plan 1, you can see that those are insert with the red color. So that is once you know that what are your new building, the area, all those things, then you can start to fill in to make adjustment. And also I've also uploaded here your project budget. For example, this is the first project budget. So the total cost limit are 79 million. Okay, 79,285. And then this one I'm basing on let's say 35,000 square meter. So 1,300 per square meter for the construction cost. Then after I have more information, so I come up with, like just now, the cost plan. Let me show you again. Take note here, cost plan. Okay, so now down here, my revised, my cost plan now is 1289.01. Okay, after I have prepared, get a more accurate figure, 1289.01. So therefore now my next item okay. So my new project budget now, can you see that? I updated to 1289, so no more 1,300. So therefore, that is a new prices. And then my total cost limit now is 78 million, no more 79 million, which means I'm getting more accurate. So therefore, we will keep changing this figure, and as a QS, along the consultant design the building, the QS need to keep updating of their design of their project budget. So there's no limit of project budget and cost plan you need to provide. Probably for your project or for your assignment, we say you need to provide at least 3 copy of the cost plan or something like that, or 2 copy, etc. But in reality, whenever there's any changes, you need to update your cost plan and revise your project budget as it goes. All right. So that's all for today. Tomorrow I will continue with some detail on the requirement of accommodation design. Like for example, your setback, the size of the building, etc. I will go to more detail on that, on the architecture aspect. So with that, I end today's sections. Is there any questions? So if no questions, then we'll end the class today here. Thank you. Tomorrow class will start at 8:30. Mm-hmm.